Hello, my beautiful galactic soul family. Welcome back. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. So let's talk about what you're talking about. What are you manifesting in your life? What story are you talking about? What story are you telling yourself? What story are you telling others? Are you aware that the story that you're telling is also what you're manifesting? So, what story are you telling yourself and others? Be aware of the story that you are telling to other people, that you are telling to yourself, and anyone who will listen. There are so many different stories and perspectives, stress, and timelines that we are all challenged with daily. Some of them are blessings in disguise. Some are lessons. So be careful of the story you keep telling yourself. For example, and I'm going to use examples of my life. Stop saying things like, I'm broke, I'm sick, I'm depressed, I'm lonely, I'm broken, I'm stressed, I need help because I can't do XYZ by myself. I don't want to live anymore because my boyfriend or my girlfriend left me, or because I lost my job, or because I can't pay my mortgage or my rent, or because I got evicted, or because I can't pay my car note. I need. I can't. I want. Be careful of the words that you speak. I understand bad things happen to us. Believe me, I understand. And I understand that sometimes we feel stuck because, we're being faced with a challenge that feels like defeat. A lot of the I can'ts, I want, and I need were things I was faced with in my life at one time or another. And I quickly learned, I wouldn't say I quickly learned, but when I learned, I quickly was able to learn that if you don't like your situation, change your story, change the narrative. I remember, now this is a long time ago, I remember a wise older person telling me that, they told me the same advice when I was faced with my challenges, no matter what my challenges were. And it wasn't just one person. It was like, this was something older people, like wiser older people would tell me, especially like people like my grandparents, stuff like that, or just older people. Whenever I was faced with challenges, I was told I created my problems. And it used to really just piss me off because I would think to myself, I did not just sit here and create this. Like, I don't want this drama in my life. Drama just follows me. Negativity and bad luck just follow me. I was like, I'm not creating these problems. And I'd be so pissed. I'm like, I'm not creating these challenges. I just have bad luck. I was dealt a shitty hand in life. I honestly believed that, And I used to get mad and say things like, why can't you tell me something useful, like how to fix my problems? Or why can't you just help me fix my problems? Why can't you just show me how to change so that my life can be better and feel better? And then I would say things like, why does God hate me so much? Or why was I born to suffer? This was basically my reaction to my crummy life for many, many years. I learned the hard way, and it's because I was very stubborn. I was like very stubborn. Stubborn as a mule. I was a knucklehead. I thought I knew it all. I think all young people, kids, teenagers, young adults, I think they all feel like they just know, what they're going through, and they feel like the older people, they just don't understand. It's like they're not cool enough to understand or something. I remember thinking like that. I felt like I knew it all. And if I didn't like what you were saying, I felt like you were just being a negative hater. Like you just really didn't like me and you didn't want me to, succeed. And you were just saying things to hurt me. And I would think that you didn't love me. And I would think that you wanted nothing to do with me. So I wanted nothing to do with the people that would not, just give me what I needed. I felt like I was owed a hand, like a handout, because my life was shitty. I felt like I should have been given a free hand because, I had a very hard life growing up. Little did I know that as I got older, I didn't know any of this then. Like I didn't realize how many people have family issues and challenges with life and skeletons in their closet. I literally just thought I was dealt a shitty hand. Anyways, I learned the opposite of that. As I grew up, I guess I just became wiser, and my life is not a secret. I like to speak what I'm going through. Like I don't sit there on social media and just whine, about my problems and want people to fix them. I'm literally just sharing with other people when I notice that when they're going through something that I went through, it resonates with me, and it's just like a conversation starter. And and by doing that, I realized there's a lot of people that have a lot of challenges in life. It's not just me, but I didn't know that when I was younger, but I do know it now. So the story I was telling myself at a young age was I did not have parents that loved me or cared about me because my parents were too busy doing drugs and drinking, and they party a lot, with their friends. Now, side note, I'm telling you, I'm sharing with you the story I told myself as a young adult, not even adult, we'll get there, but like as a young kid, okay? I know now my parents love me, and I forgive them, and, I'm not perfect, I've done some really fucked up shit in life. So when I'm sharing my story about my parents, it's going to sound dark. My life as a kid is going to sound dark. And I'm not sharing because I have any malice or anything against them. I'm just sharing with you guys the story I used to tell myself because I want to help heal whoever needs to hear this. I love my parents, and I know that they love me and my siblings as well. Okay, so moving on. So back then, when I was a kid, the story I was telling myself is that my parents didn't love me because they chose drugs and alcohol over me. My dad was always in the bar, and if I wanted to talk to my dad, I would have to call the bar, and the bartender would either say he's not there because my dad would say to tell whoever calls that he's not there, or if I really wanted to get a hold of him, I had to call his beeper and put 911 in and trick him into an emergency just to give me a call at home, just so I could find out, hey, what's going on? What are we going to have for dinner? Or can so-and-so spend the night? Or can I go to so-and-so's house? Because I spent a lot of time with my friends because my parents were never really around. So my dad was always in the bar. My mother was never home. We had random people in our house all the time. People sleeping on the couch. Sometimes they were sleeping on the floor. The neighbors would come over every now and then, and they would check in on us to see if we were okay. My cousin raised me. My cousin raised me and my brother. Sometimes close family took care of us. My grandmother would watch us. We'd go to my grandpa's house. My dad's friend bought us school clothes because he felt bad that we looked bummy. My dad's money went to bills, drugs, and alcohol, but at least he was able to keep his mortgage, right? And pay his bills and keep a roof over his head and food in our tummy. That's what he used to tell us. At least we have a roof over our head and we're not starving. And he can do whatever else he wanted to do with his money because we were sheltered and fed. That was his logic. My mom moved away to Florida. I was raising my brother, who was 3 years younger than me. And my life didn't really start to suck until I was about maybe 6, 7 years old is the earliest memories I have of my parents and knowing that I was in a kind of a crummy situation. Now, don't get me wrong, we did have some good times. My father would take a couple weeks off every year and we would travel and go to Vermont and stay at my aunt's house in the mountains. And, we did camping and stuff. But for the most part, they're never around. There was a point as I got older, I was abused. And when I say abused, I mean verbally, mentally, and physically. Now I wasn't like beat up, punched in the gut, or, blows to the face or anything. I'm talking about my father would whoop us. Like he had a belt. He had 2 belts, a skinny belt and a fat belt. If you were really bad, you got the skinny belt because that hurt really bad. If you were just bad, you got the fat belt. If you really pissed him off, you got hit with the horse crop. This is like a plastic stick with leather wrapped around it. A horse crop, what they're using in horse racing? The jockey slaps the horse on the butt. Yeah, that's what we got hit with. I felt like a slave at one point, cooking and cleaning. I was 9 years old, taking care of my brother. Being a slave for my father became a joke because my dad dated this woman. Her name was Tina, and she used to call me Faccia Bella. And she would say that I was a faccia bella, not a faccia bruta, meaning face, beautiful face, face like a girl, and not an ugly face or face like a pig. And I would sing, Gabriella Faccia Bella is a little Cinderella. I felt like a step kid in the house cleaning up after everybody, and everybody I was cleaning up after was like my dad and all his friends. So I was 9 years old, taking care of my brother, cleaning house, cooking, and stuff like that. And then my mother, my mom came around. She came around for like our birthdays and the holidays and stuff like that. Sometimes she came around to make sure, we got off to school safely. Except for when she was away in Florida. But then she came home from Florida. When I was about 7 years old, she came back. We haven't seen her in a really long time. And she was pregnant. And my father was not the father of the baby in her belly. I didn't know that back then because I didn't know anything about that kind of stuff. I just know that my mom came home and then like her belly was big and then it was small and then she had this little baby in her arms and she had to explain to me that that was my sister. And I didn't know how to take it. I used to tell her to put it back inside of her. Yeah, I was a kid. So I didn't know. I think I was kind of jealous too because it was always just me and my brother. So now I had to raise a small baby, I was changing diapers. I was babysitting. Back then, I really didn't think anything of it when I was taking care of my little sister, I kind of felt like I was playing house and she was like my doll. Not all the time, I wasn't always like this babysitter, but it was like, go give Gabe the baby while we go into the bedroom or whatever. Of course I had a normal life. I went to school and played with my friends, but I also took care of my siblings. There was a time I was molested by my mom's boyfriend. This happened when my parents were divorced. I was about 10 years old at this time. I've witnessed a lot of domestic abuse. I witnessed my mother getting beat up by all of the boyfriends she's ever dated, stalked, beat up. And, I could go on and on. When I was younger, I just felt unloved. I just felt I was always in fear. Yeah, I guess fear sums it up. I was always in fear. A lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, a lot of sadness and grief. So I had no idea that I chose this family and I chose this lifestyle before I incarnated. All of the challenges I mentioned were soul contracts that I made with these people, my parents, my siblings, the neighbors, the random people coming in and out of our house, even the man that molested me. These are all soul contracts. If you were to ask me about any of this 5 years ago, I would still be like, fuck him for molesting me. I want him dead. Let's curse him. My parents still suck. I was still working through a lot mentally and emotionally. But I've come a long, long way since all of this has happened. And it was a hard pill to swallow when you start to wake up and you start to forgive. And then when you start to realize that you chose all of this before you incarnated, once you peel back enough layers of who you are and why you're here, all of the things that has ever happened to you in life start to make sense. At least they did for me. I don't accept the fact that I was molested, but I understand that action happened for some strange reason, that I chose it to happen. It was a soul contract. I know that not too many people are going to probably take that information and accept it, but I guess you have to be on the level that I'm at, spiritually and mentally and emotionally, to understand it, I guess. I don't even want to say accept it. I don't really accept it. I just understand it. So all the challenges that I mentioned were soul contracts. They were lessons, and some of them were blessings in disguise. But I would not learn about any of that until I was about, in my mid-30s is when I started to learn about stuff like that. Before I was 30 and, younger than that, I just thought I was dealt a really shitty hand in life and I was just really unlucky. But I learned in stages or maybe phases as I got older how to change my story and how to understand the stories that I was telling myself. So let me ask you, are you aware of the story that you are telling yourself? Are you saying things like, I'm sick? Because if you keep telling the story of how sick you are, or how sick you feel, or how sick you look, then guess what? The universe says, okay, Joe Schmo keeps saying that they look sick, they feel sick, they're acting sick, so guess what? Bam! Your sickness is granted, and the universe grants you your sickness. Or whatever it is that, you're telling yourself, whatever it is you're manifesting, whatever it is that you're speaking into existence. The universe is not good, and it's not a bad thing. It does not punish us, and it doesn't pat us on the back, saying things like, oh, you're doing a great job. It doesn't work like that. The universe just is. It's always listening, and it grants us whatever we're manifesting, whatever we're speaking into existence, whatever story that we're telling ourselves. Because when you're telling a story, you're believing in what you're saying, because you're telling the story. So you have to be a storyteller, you have to believe in the story that you're speaking, because you're so animated about it. And oh, I feel so sick, and then you act like you're so sick. So you're like a character speaking this story into existence. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the universe is just listening to this, and the universe is like, okay, she keeps saying this, so she wants this. So bam, abracadabra, there you go, you're sick. And the universe just grants it for you. So let me ask you again. Are you aware of what you're manifesting or what you're speaking into existence? Are you aware of the story that you are telling yourself and others? You are such a powerful divine being. You are a fractal of source. Do you understand what that means? You are a fractal of source. You're not just this human being living on earth, living and then dying. You are magic. You are divine. A higher power made you. Whatever it is that you believe in, God, source, creator, whatever it is that you call that higher power, consciousness, whatever, energy, there's a lot of names for it. You are a fractal of it. It's in your DNA. You are powerful. You are divine. You are a godling, a very powerful being. You are energy. You are magic. So you have to be careful of the words that you speak, of the story you are telling, the manifest, whatever it is that you're manifesting, whatever it is that you're speaking, because you're going to speak it into existence. So let me go back to my prior childhood story I just shared with you a few moments ago. I have a few learning points. Okay. So before I started putting in the work, and when I say putting in the work, I mean like I'm putting in shadow work. I'm doing shadow work, okay? I'm putting in the work, spiritual growth. I used to say things like, if it wasn't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. And I was also one of those half glass empty kind of people. I was always preparing for the worst case scenario, and I was always preparing for bad news. I was always prepared for rejection and to hear the answer no. So my story that I was telling back then was always full of low vibes. It was full of negativity. My story was dark. As I mentioned, my parents were, party people that were not ready to raise children at the time. It doesn't mean that they were bad people. It just means they weren't ready to raise children at the time. Because believe me, if they knew how to do better, they would have done better, right? And I wasn't the best mom. I was a young mom. I got pregnant when I was 16, and I had just turned 17, and I had my son. And we'll get there, because, I'm sharing with you bits and pieces of my life, because I'm giving you examples of the stories, the dark stories that I used to tell myself and others. And they were what I was manifesting into existence. It was what I was speaking into existence. And I'm using my life because I just feel like it'll help you. Whoever needs to hear this, it's going to touch them in a way that's going to spark some sort of a light. So Before my parents got divorced, I witnessed a lot of anger and hate and disappointment, grief. I witnessed chaos, lots of yelling, a lot of cursing, lots of verbal abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, towards each other. And some of it was even directed at us as kids because they were angry at each other. And then, of course, you got a baby crying. You got two other kids that are a little bit older that are hungry or probably fighting with each other or needs help with math homework or whatever. So that anger kind of like they lashed out at us because they were just, frustrated. As this anger was directed at my brother and myself, I feel like we were traumatized. I know I was traumatized. I really can't speak for my brother. I mean, I kind of feel like he was traumatized. I was definitely traumatized. He looked traumatized, as a child, hiding on his bed with his He-Man blanket, curled up in the corner like, oh my God, mom and dad are fighting. What do I do? I remember holding my brother, and there were times that I even laid next to him, and he was shaking and crying because he was scared. All he hears is yelling and dishes breaking. He didn't know what the hell's going on. He's little. We were scared. We were young. I wanted to protect him. That was like my motherly instinct. I've always been an empath. So as I got older, when people talk about empaths, I just assumed that everybody was naturally empathic. I mean, everybody is an empath, but they're not naturally empathic. I am naturally empathic, so I wanted to protect him. It was like my motherly instinct. My empath kicked in also and wanted to console him, protect him, make him safe, take away his pain. There were a lot of times that I just didn't know how, so all I did was sit next to him and just like lay next to him and give him comfort like that. That's all I could really do. Even if we both held each other and cried, that's all I knew how to do. I witnessed a lot of domestic abuse and violence. Things being thrown around, objects getting broken, holes being punched into the walls, just a lot of anger and pain. My parents were not happy when they were younger. I want to say, I know they loved us. I want to express that again because, sometimes my mom listens to my videos and she'll probably get a little offended. Like, I loved you. I know she loved me. I know my father loved me. They really, really, really loved us. And I know that they have a lot of regret now that they're older and they think about the past. And I know that they wish that they could take it all back. But you know what? If they put the shadow work in, and they can learn to forgive themselves, I really deeply feel that they would understand why they did certain things. Like, I know my mom's past, how she grew up and the stories that she shares, so I could see why my mom acted the way she acted. My dad, though, he has me stumped because he came from a really nice family. I'm not saying that my mom didn't come from a really nice family, but my dad, maybe he doesn't really share, so I'll really never know. But my dad kind of came from like that Leave It to Beaver family, that kind of a family, that 1960s, the housewife that cooks the dinner, the dad that's in the army that comes home, meals are made, and they're very respectful and honorable and just like really happy. But maybe that's just, maybe that's the way it looked from the outside in. I don't know. I know more about my mom's past than I do my dad's. I know now that they did the best that they knew how then, considering what was involved in their lives. Drugs, alcohol intensifies emotions, and that's what created such chaos and poor decisions and stuff like that. And when you become an addict, it's hard. It is. And if you've never witnessed an addict's behavior, or you wouldn't know unless you've been around addicts or you've been an addict yourself, I guess. It's a disease. So I did not know that then, but I do know all of this now. And I know that they are very sorry, and I forgave them. a few years ago. I forgave them. I understand this was their life, their lessons. And I could just imagine the story they were telling themselves. So I forgave them because I put in the work. I did the inner work. I did the shadow work. I understand. It's sad when nobody can find the courage to do the inner work, or maybe they don't know how. Maybe that's the purpose of me doing this video, is to trigger somebody to look inside themselves and, do some inner work, some shadow work, and maybe to let people be aware, bring them awareness of the words that they're speaking, the story that they're telling, the manifestations that they're putting out there into the universe. At least that's my hope. I hope that I can help at least one person. The whole time I was writing out my content, and this content that I write out, it's my journal. This actually turned into a book. I didn't even write everything because I was like, oh my God, I filled up a whole notepad. I just took out like bits and pieces of, of what I could remember and what I wanted to share. Because it started to spark up a lot of memories. And I was like, wow, this is deep. Even what I'm sharing is deep. And I appreciate whoever's listening to this story. I appreciate you. And my hope is that you don't have any pity for me that I'm sharing this story. No hurt in your heart. When I tell you I forgave my parents, I truly forgave my parents. And I am at a level that I know I have leveled up, and I'm at a level that I know that everything that I'm sharing with you that has taken place in my life has happened for a reason. Okay? Please understand that it has happened for a reason. I feel like there was something else I wanted to say, but I kind of got sidetracked. So my story throughout life was created and edited as I grew up and became wiser as I put the work in. It took me a long, long, long time to change my story. And I still struggle with my story. I'm not perfect. I still struggle. Okay? But I've come a long way. But hearing my parents argue made me very nervous. And their separation did not just affect them, it affected me, it affected all of us that had to witness it. And a lot of what I went through as an adult was trauma from my childhood. And I had to learn how to heal that trauma, to heal my child so that I can become a better mom, wife, daughter. My two older kids didn't get the version of me now that my youngest daughter has gotten, but they're getting a different version of me as a mom regardless. More understanding, more laid back, more loving, more caring. I don't let a lot of the traumas that affected me back then affect me now. So the separation made the abuse of my parents worse. And when I say abuse, I mean like neglect and mental, verbal, and physical abuse. We were called names. We were called like stupid, retarded, dumb. We were called little assholes. We were beaten with a belt. Like I mentioned, the fat one was the basic whooping. The skinny one was when you were really, like really bad and you were going to get it, And the horse crop is when you like really just pissed my dad off. Like he had it. Like he would have the scale and he would take his hand and he'd be like, I've had it up to here. And his hand would stop at like his eyebrows. Well, if his scale went above his head, and he had it to like the heavens, you got the whooping from the horse crop. So fast forward, I left home when I was 15 years old. My dad said, we had this conversation. I got in trouble, something happened. We were in an argument with each other. When I say an argument with my dad, I know a lot of people, they respect their parents and they would never talk back and argue with their parents, but I've never felt like my parents were my parents. My parents were like they didn't parent me. I always felt like I was a parent. So I felt like I earned having those grown-up conversations. So if you yelled at me, it was like I've earned it to be able to yell at you back and raise my voice at you too, because we are at the same level. At least that's how I felt back then. I was I had no choice. I had to grow up fast. So I already felt like an adult when I was 15. So, of course, when my dad yelled at me, I would yell back. I know it's disrespectful. Like I said, my parents were more like friends than they were like parents. And he gave me this long, annoying, narcissistic speech after he slapped me in the face for sassing him back, you know, for something. I guess my brother did something. I don't really remember the details, but I know that like something happened with my brother, and he said that I should have been watching him. And his favorite way to punish me was by saying things like, you and your brother are a team, and that he would say, you have to keep him out of trouble because that's a team. You guys are that's teamwork. If he gets into trouble, as the team leader, I get punished too because I didn't keep him out of trouble. It was my job to keep him on the straight and narrow. So I sassed him back about it because I felt that was not fair, because that's not my job. And I got slapped in my face for sassing him, and that just like made me so bad. I'm 15. I haven't gotten a whooping since I was a kid, because 15 is kind of too old to be getting a whooping. At least that's, I think. I mean, I can't imagine whooping my kids at 15. I don't know. 15 just is so big. I've never hit my daughter or my Rose. Now, my other two kids, I didn't know how to discipline, so they got whoopings. Not with belts. It was like a hand whooping with my hand, like what. But I didn't want to do the belt because I was like, I'll never hit my kids with a belt. But my third child, I've never laid a hand on her. As I got older, I got wiser. So he said, I have a choice. If I wanted to live with him under his roof, I had to live following his rules. So I said, or I asked actually, and I didn't said, I asked. I said, so I questioned him and said, I have a choice? Question mark, I have a choice? And he says, yes. Live here, follow my rules, or move out. So, obviously I moved out. I left. I went to school that morning, and I never came back. I actually left during lunch period. I called my cousin, and I told her I was leaving, and she tried to talk me out of it. And I didn't like that she tried to talk me out of it, because this was like my cool cousin. And I was like, no, you got to help me. You got to save me. So I left, and I ended up going to a friend's house. And I lived with a friend. I got a job. I paid rent. It wasn't a lot of money. The mom was just trying to teach me responsibility. If I was going to act like an adult, she said I had to be treated like an adult. So she charged me, it was just like a small amount of money. It was like $25. $25 a month or something like that. It was really small. So I paid her. I had a job. And then I ended up moving with my cousin. And then I stayed with my cousin until I was 16 years old, because here in New York, the cops can pick you up, and they can keep bringing you home and bringing you home. They had a pins worn out on me, but I stayed away from like cops and family and everything until I turned 16. Because once you turn 16, the cops cannot make you go back home. And I knew that. So I stayed, out of sight until I was 16. And of course, I dropped out of school. I was a big dummy. I didn't think things through, you guys. And then this is where my story started to change, because, it's a new chapter of my life. So my news story traded from one bad thing to another. I thought, wow, I really messed up, now I must be independent. I got to be responsible. I got to be an adult now. And, I was only 16. What do I know about being an adult, right? Even though I acted like an adult all of my childhood, but never responsible for bills and stuff like that. I didn't even have a car. Okay. So I strived to be independent. but I found a way to be codependent. Okay, so in my new story, I was codependent, but I was trying to act like I was independent. That was my life. That's all new. Um, and being codependent was all I knew how to do. The only thing I really knew how to do was to cook, clean, and stay safe and care for another person, kind of, and show love and empathy to another person. But that's the simple part of it, the basic parts. I did not know how to make, money and do all the rest of the stuff. So the story I was telling myself was, I need help. And I really did need help. But since I wanted to act like an adult, now I was depending on other people to help me, to do it for me, help me. When I say I need help, I don't mean help me in a loving way, help me do it for me kind of way. So I depended on other people to help me. It's strange because I was independent, like I said, but I craved codependency. It made me feel safe, wanted, loved, and financially stable, because when I was living with my parents, my father, I was independent, taking care of my brother and sister, cooking, cleaning, going to school, doing schoolwork, stuff like that. But I was codependent because he was my parent, taking care of all the bills, the family, not the family, but the money aspects of things. He had the car, grocery shopping, stuff like that. So that's where the codependency comes in. That's why I was feeling like I needed that codependency. So another story I told myself was that I was not good enough and nobody loved me. Nobody wanted me. I was seeking love. So I fell in love with the first male I dated because he showed me the attention that I was seeking at the time. And I thought I found love. And I was only 16 and I thought I knew it all. And guess what? I got pregnant at 16. I wanted to create this family. I wanted to create love, or the idea of what I thought was love, or what I thought love was. I thought if I had a family, I could create the idea of what a family felt like or looked like, or what I always fantasized family to look like and feel like. So I was living in a fantasy. When I say it was a fantasy, it was unreal. It was unreal. My story got worse. I felt worse because now all these negative aspects I was starting to put all these negative aspects upon me. So I judged myself. I was so insecure. I was young. That insecurity led me down some dark roads. I was looking for love, and I didn't even know what love was. Didn't even know what love was. You want to know why I didn't know what love was? Because I didn't love myself. How can you love somebody else when you don't know how to love yourself? I attracted everything that I ran away from. Not only did I attract it, I accepted it. I thought if someone sticks around long enough and does not abandon me and provided for me and my little family, even though they yelled verbal nonsense at me and physically abused me, it was okay, because they would apologize later and say something like, I'm sorry, something that I never heard when I was growing up. Nobody ever said they were sorry to me after yelling or hitting or anything like that. I never heard those words. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I love you. My parents were not affectionate, so we didn't get that. Come here, give me a hug, give me a kiss. I love you. You're doing a good job. I didn't get that positive reinforcement. So hearing I'm sorry and I love you were words I didn't hear a lot of when I was growing up. So I was empathetic to anyone who was sorry, and I forgave them right away. Didn't create no boundaries, nothing. I just forgave them, was like, okay, you're sorry, you love me. Oh, okay, we'll do better. So I attracted a lot of narcs, and I accepted narcissistic behavior. So once you become aware of the story that you're telling yourself, you realize why you keep doing the stuff, or why you keep doing the same stuff, or the stuff that you are just doing in general, or why you're following the patterns that you follow, or accept the nonsense that you're accepting. So fast forward from, being a teenager into becoming a young adult. So in 2003, I broke free. I started to get sick of my life. Like, I was finally sick of my life, and I was like, something needs to give, something needs to change. And I went into the dark night of the soul. I did not know I went into the dark night of the soul then, but I know now. But I went into the dark night of the soul, and it helped me really evaluate my life. I started to change my story once again. This time, I had a higher power. Something non-corporeal spoke to me. Something that was not in a human body spoke to me. I heard a woman's voice, as if someone was in the room with me, talking in my ear. And I'm going to circle back to this in a moment, okay? I started to experience lots of paranormal experiences, paranormal stuff in 2003. Side note, I've always experienced paranormal stuff all of my life. And then, long story short, there was a time in my life that my cousin told me, stop talking about stuff like that, or they're going to take your kids away. They're going to think you're crazy, and they're going to put you in Bellevue. Bellevue is a place that they put crazy people. So I had to suppress my gifts. So I had to tell myself that the spirits I was seeing and hearing were not real, that I was just stressed, and I was living in a make-believe world. Okay? Now back to 2003. All that stuff that I suppressed as a older teen, I probably suppressed a lot of this when I was about 18, 19. And I told myself it's not real. And it was just hallucinations and anxiety and depression and stress and stuff like that were making me experience what I was experiencing. So in 2003, I started to experience all of this again. And I thought, oh my God, is this stress? I started seeing shadow people, lots of number synchronicities. Back then, I was seeing the number 911 and the number 11 and 1111 quite a bit. At the time, I had no idea what it all meant. I had a strong gut feeling that I could not ignore it. I knew that it meant something. The hairs would stand up on my neck when I would see 911. It was like, don't ignore me. Don't ignore me. You see me. It was weird. So I saw it so much on the VCR that I would cover up the VCR with a tape. And I would turn all my digital clocks around so I couldn't see them. So I couldn't see the time. And then when I did that, all of a sudden I would see the number 911 on a license plate, or on a house address, or on a piece of paper. Or somebody would say it, or, it'd be on TV or something. It would come out in other ways. So I know now what it all means. It means it's a call to action. It also means that you're at this end of a cycle, and you're graduating into a new event or a new cycle. It's a graduation period or an ending period. It's also call to action. But I had no idea what that meant back then. It was so strong, the feeling that I felt when I would see 9/11, that I spoke about it all the time. I spoke about it to anybody that would listen to me. People just thought I was losing my mind because, at the time I went through a breakup with my kid's father. I was with him for 10 years. I had 2 kids with him, and I was going through a breakup. So they were telling me that I was programming myself to look at the clock at 9/11, either in the morning or at night. And I thought that was absurd. So they were telling me it was either I was programming myself to look at the clock at this time, or I was just crazy. So I was with my kid's father for 10 years, like I just mentioned, and he was all I really knew. And I took the separation really, really hard. I didn't even know how to function because I was a young person when I got with him, had 2 kids with him, and then I was in my 20s when I separated from him. So we kind of grew from being kids, young teenagers to young adults, creating a life, paying bills, rent, car, kids, all the important stuff. So I tried to kill myself. I tried to hurt myself. I was already insecure. Now I had 2 kids. I had stretch marks. I had a monkey pouch. Monkey pouch is that little pouch you get after you have babies, the little kangaroo pouch. I was 15 pounds overweight. And he reminded me all the time that I would never find another man because no man wants a woman with 2 kids. And no man wanted a woman whose body had stretch marks. And I believed him. So I tried to hurt myself. I didn't want to be around anymore. I tried to kill myself. I thought, I'm done for. Like, this is it. I'm broke. I have no job. My body's destroyed. How am I supposed to take care of these children? And I have no support, nothing. So I thought they would be better off without me and they can go live with their father and have everything that they needed and have, a better life than I did. So little did I know, the universe had my back. The universe, angels, my higher self, some higher power had my back. So did this strange, non-corporeal woman who I believed was either my higher self or my guardian angel. Again, at the time, I did not know this, but I do now. This was a being. This was the beginning of a new chapter in my life. So let me tell you about the woman. My life was rocky at the time. My relationship was horrible. My fiance was a douchebag. He would beat me up because, I'm going to give you an example of how douchey he was. I was in my 20s and then I was like maybe 22 probably. I went out to, we were living in Orlando, Florida. I went out to a club, not like a club, like a restaurant club with his sister. Like a sit down, we had dinner together. He wanted me to include his sister into my life and get closer to her and invite her out. So that's what I did. We went out to dinner. So while we were eating dinner, some man came up to us, and he approached me and he says hello, and he says hello to his sister. And he was like, I just want to tell you how beautiful you are. You're very beautiful. And, and that's it. And he walked away. I said, thank you. And he walked away. Well, my fiance's sister told my fiance, when we got home the next morning, and he hit me for that. I got beat up for it in front of his mom and in front of his sister. I got beat up for that. And she knows nothing happened. All he did was say, you're very beautiful. I said, thank you. And he walked away. I guess I didn't handle it the way he wanted me to handle it. I don't know how else he wanted me to handle it. But a few days later, we were kind of not talking, but I tried to make good with him by, hanging out with his family. So I went and I picked his niece up, and I wanted to hang out, with the kids. His niece is about the same age as my kids. So I picked her up and had a little play date at the house. And my 2 kids and his niece were in the living room, and I was doing a lot of thinking. I was just like, how can I make this better? How can I make him not mad at me anymore? I didn't mean for that guy to say it was beautiful. Like, damn, maybe I should have wore different, clothing, or I don't know, did my hair a different way. Maybe I should have not wore makeup. I don't know. I was just thinking and thinking and thinking. And I was crocheting a blanket. I remember that. And I must have slipped into some kind of a trance or something, because all of a sudden, I don't remember thinking anymore. I just was crocheting, like I wasn't even looking at what I was doing. And all of a sudden, a woman spoke to me and said, check his phone. And then after I heard her voice in my ear, then I could hear her telepathically. She told me, he's cheating on you. So I heard her verbally say, check his phone. And then telepathically, she says, he's cheating. So I turn around, like I snap out of this trance, and I'm like looking around the living room, and I'm in an apartment, so it's like a living room, dining room. And I was like, oh my God, that was really, really, really weird. And I happened to turn around, and guess what? His phone was on the counter right behind my head. She also told me telepathically to check his wallet. Now I'm hearing this telepathically as I'm looking at his phone. She said, I will find more proof. So when I snapped out of this like trance, like I know, like, okay, I'm really here. I'm coherent. Like I'm blinking my eyes. I'm like pinching my cheeks and stuff like that. I'm like, am I really like hearing this? You know, I'm seeing what, you know, the things that she's telling me. I'm seeing this phone, and I could still hear her in my head. And then, I don't know. And I looked, and the phone was behind me, and I was kind of slightly concerned, not really scared, but I was like weird. I was weirded out because that was weird. So I picked it up not knowing what I was going to find. So I looked went through his phone, like the recent calls. Now we're talking 2003 Motorola phone. I saw what said customer 1, customer 2, and customer 3. So my fiance was a plumber technician. He had a work phone. So that was his work phone that was behind me. So, you know, that was not strange to see him saving customers' numbers while on active jobs. So I put the phone down, and then I had a strong urge come over me. Like something made me pick it back up again and check it again. And I checked under customer number 2, and there was a work number and a home number stored. And I was like, that's kind of weird. Like, why would he save the customer's work and home number? Like, I don't know. I don't know. That was just kind of weird to me. So I called the home number, and the person that answered, answered the phone said, hi, Joe Schmo. Jane Doe is at work. Obviously, I said, this is not Jane, Joe Schmo, Obviously, I'm not using the real names. I'm just making up those names because I'm not going to give you the names. But so yeah. So person picks up, hi, Joe Schmo. Jane Doe's at work. And then I'm like over here like, this is not blah, blah, blah. All right. And then the person hung up on me. And then I immediately called the work number that was programmed next to that number. And while I did that, I grabbed his wallet at the same time and opened it up. And at the same time I opened it up, Jane Doe answers the phone. And then I found a condom. Crazy, right? And Jane Doe told me that she was his girlfriend. This is long story short. This is his girlfriend. They've been dating for months, whatever. And as I go and I confront him while she's on the phone, and I'm showing him the wallet, the condom, I'm on the phone with this girl, and he's telling me I'm bugging and I'm lying and da-da-da. And I put the phone and like say hello, and she's like, hello, what's going on? What, I thought you told me you left her and you were going to your brother's house and blah, 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 blah. So I ended up getting beat up that night. Really bad. Like I couldn't even walk the next day. I got a blow to the rib and hurt my tailbone, and it was bad. So we're going to fast forward through all that. And I ended up going into a deep, deep, dark depression. And this depression lasted for 30 days. And in those 30 days, that's when I tried to kill myself. I felt like trash. I felt like worthless trash. This is what I'm telling myself. This is the story that I'm telling myself. I'm worthless trash. I drove my fiance off to be with another woman. This is the crazy crap I was telling myself. Okay? I wasn't right. Like, I didn't think right. I was I don't even know the word, submissive, I guess. I was a dumb woman back then. I was young and dumb. I went from a size 12 to a size 4 in 30 days. I did not eat anything in 30 days. I don't remember anything in those 30 days. Like bits and pieces, like little flashbacks is all I remember. I'm not even sure how I cared for my other two kids. I was like on autopilot or something. I know that there were some days that they went to their grandmother's house, but I really just don't know. I really don't. I'm ashamed to admit that I was unfit to be a mom during those 30 days. I was really messed up. I do remember the kids going to their grandmothers every now and then, and their aunt coming around, and all I did was cry. I was bad company. Like nobody ever wanted to be around me for those 30 days. All I did was cry, and cry and cry. I cried so much my eyes were chapped, my nose was chapped. It was bad, you guys. It was bad. I know now that 911 was a call to action to change my life. Also, I know that all of this horrible stuff was a blessing in disguise. Truly a blessing in disguise. Some of you are probably like, wow, that's a fucked up blessing, dude. Like, who would want to have a blessing like that? But when I tell you it's a blessing in disguise, please just trust me. When I tell you that the darkest things that happen to you in your life is either a lesson or a blessing. You have to trust and have faith. You know what helps is changing your perspective. It's trying to see a different side of why you're going through certain things. And it's called awareness. And when you can bring awareness into your life, it is a key to help you on your journey. So these were lessons, more lessons, more and more lessons. Lessons, we're always just going through lessons, right? Life is lessons. Earth is lessons. So again, back then, I did not know this. I did not know that these were lessons. Everything happens for a reason. Everything. Anything and everything you go through is happening for a reason. In the early 2000s was the beginning of my awakening. It was the wake of me processing life consciously, processing emotions consciously. I projected a lot. I was definitely a work in progress, but at least I was at work on myself at this point. I'm finally at the beginning stages of I'm at work on myself. I'm under construction. So at that point I'm under construction and everything was being torn down to the ground so that I could rebuild a solid foundation. I needed to find a solid foundation so I can to rebuild myself. So that was the beginning stages of being under construction, was the tear down. And back then, there was no TikTok, there was no Facebook, no YouTube, there was no woke friends, I didn't have parents that I can call to hug me and console me, that I could talk to, that could advise me, to help me. I was literally on my own, you guys. That's what made my life so difficult back then. I didn't have that love and that support to help me level up, to help me become aware, to help me just to help me, to guide me with love. I literally had to figure this all out on my own. Not to say that I'm like special and I'm the only one that ever had to do this, but if you've ever had to just figure out life on your own, like I'm patting you on the back right now, and I am hugging you, and I love you, and I am so proud of you. Know that, because when there is nobody around that you could just lean on, that shit's hard. That shit's hard. I didn't even have a computer or a cell phone or a beeper. Back then, it was the thing to have was like a beeper, a pager. I didn't have any of that. I had no job. I had no money. nobody to give me positive advice or positive reinforcement, no guidance, nothing. I had to figure it all out on my own. I've always been an intuitive empath. And the only help that came through was from a higher force, my higher self, the angels, the universe. And I'm not like saying, well, that's the only thing that came through. I'm blessed that some divine force came through. Like, I know I have a purpose, because if I didn't have a purpose, no divine intervention would have taken place, and I would not even be here talking to you guys today. Something guided me and something saved me. And I'm blessed to have not had to depend on YouTube or anything like that, that I was able to have this higher power intervene and love me and have my back. So having this experience with a higher power led me down a path to teach me how to tap in and tune in and believe in myself and know that all that paranormal stuff that I was experiencing when I was younger was real. I wasn't going crazy. I'm this divine magical being that was born with these, I don't know if powers is the correct way to put it, but I didn't have awareness. I mean, I had awareness of it, but I guess I always thought everybody did until I was told that I was weird, and then I had to suppress it. But I came in with these gifts that not a lot of people have. So I had to retune myself to these gifts that I was born with. So we all have a breaking point. And some people can handle a lot for many. Some people could not break until they're like 80, okay? Some people are very strong, but we all have a breaking point. So I wonder if I surrendered because at the time I felt defeated, or if I was led to surrender. Maybe it was a little bit of both. I did try to kill myself. I'm not proud to say that, but it needs to be said. And by me saying this is me healing what I've held inside all of my life. Okay, even though I forgave and I've leveled up, me sharing this video with you or this audio with you guys is also healing for me. So if you're offended by the stories that I'm sharing with you, then you can always just move on and go find another person to listen to if this is not the kind of spiritual healing that is right for you. Take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Okay, this is a non-judgment channel. My channel is a non-judgmental. I'm here to help you and heal you, even though some of you may have your perceptions or whatever, but I'm truly just sharing because I feel the whole time that I was writing this out, I was like, somebody's needs to hear this. And if you're that somebody, I love you. It could be multiple people, but I definitely know that there's one person that needs to hear this. Maybe this one person is on the verge of, killing themselves, committing suicide. I don't know. Abuse, no matter how you experience it, and even if like somebody else's story could be way worse than mine, or even not as bad, doesn't matter how intense it is. Abuse is abuse. Pain is pain. Fear is fear. Okay? We all deal with it in different ways. So just know that I love you. And if you're here and you're still listening to me, I love you. So yes, I did try to kill myself. I took a handful of diet pills. And these diet pills were these like cool thing to have back then. They had fen or something like that in them. And you were supposed to take these diet pills and they'd give you all this energy so you could clean your house. And they were marketing them everywhere. And I had a bottle of them. So I took a handful of these diet pills with this fen in it, some sort of caffeine ingredient or something like that. Like I said, to give you energy. And as soon as I swallowed them, I threw them up. Not even like 30 seconds later. I don't even think it was 30 seconds. It's like I swallowed it, barfed. It was like whoop, bleh. It was weird. It didn't even like make it down into like past my collarbone. It was just like I swallowed and threw up at the same time. I threw up black goo. It was like tarry black stuff. It's as if I threw up a demon. And this is what's going through my head as I'm throwing up. I'm seeing that it's black. I'm seeing that it's goo. I'm seeing that it looks like tarry black stuff. And I'm like, am I throwing up a demon? And I laid on the bathroom floor and I felt defeated. I felt disappointed. I said to myself, wow, I'm so worthless right now that God doesn't even want me. I remember uttering something like that out of my mouth. And then I happened to glance, out into the hallway, into my bedroom, and I could see my clock. And it was a red digital clock. And it was 9/11. That sent chills down my spine. I was like, no fucking way. No way. I felt like something huge was going to happen. And it did. And it did. I went to my dining room. And this is my moment of surrender. I went to my dining room. I laid on the floor. It's Christmas time. And I'm holding a snow globe. And I started talking to my dead grandma. And I said, Grandma Millie, if you can hear me, give me a sign. And I shook the globe and nothing happened. And I was just talking to Grandma. And I said, is Jesus real, Grandma? If Jesus is real, give me a sign. And then all of a sudden, my front door flies open. And this strange Hispanic looking lady with this big poofy curly hair comes in, picks me up off the floor. And she's hugging me and she's rocking me back and forth in her arms. And she's hugging me, like hugging and rubbing my arm. And I could feel all this love, like this concern and love. And she's just holding me and she's telling me in my ear as she lifts me up off the floor. She's like, everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. And she says, come on, let's go. And she takes me and we go next door to her apartment. And I just remember I was crying. I was like, Jesus is real. Jesus is real. Jesus is real. I was in complete shock. Okay, like shock. I never thought, I don't know. I was just in shock. I mean, it could have been Jesus. It could have been my grandmother going over there and be like, hey, go over there and help my granddaughter. I don't know. I was really close to my grandma. But I mean, it was just weird because I said, is Jesus real? And it was just like, after that, like the door flew open. And I never met this woman. I have no idea who she is, okay? She brought me over to her apartment, brought my kids over there. And she's explaining to me, she said she had this strange feeling and urge to check on me. And she didn't know why. And her husband didn't know why. Her husband thought she was being a weirdo. And she was just led directly to me. It was like she literally knew where I was at. She opened my front door and she just like turned to the left and picked me. It just happened so fast. It was just weird. Just weird. Even she said it happened so fast. She admitted that she heard me crying in my apartment for weeks. And then she had a feeling that she had to check on me because all of a sudden I went silent. And she thought I killed myself. I don't know. She just had this really bad feeling. She didn't like it. So she came over. It was like a strong urge. I personally don't believe that it was Jesus as in Jesus Christ. I believe, back then I did. But where I'm at on my path today, I believe in Jesus in a different way. I look at Jesus, like Jesus is symbolic to, has something to do with astrology, like the Virgo, Virgin Mary, and all that stuff. But I believe I believe in Christ light consciousness. So Jesus Christ light is what I believe in, like Christ-light consciousness. And Christ-light consciousness is what led her to me. Or maybe it was Grandma Millie. I'll never really know. So I started at this point of my life. That was huge, you guys. That was a huge shift in my life. I'm just checking to see how long the video is. We're over an hour. So I started to tell a new story at this new, this turning point of my life. It still had darkness in it, but it put me on a path that I needed to be on. And I obviously have a purpose. My purpose must be important if my spirit intervened, or if spirit in general intervenes. Because usually you hear people say that spirit cannot interfere or intervene unless you ask for help. But in a way, I did ask for help. I didn't just ask for help. I begged for help. For a long time, I was like, how could spirit intervene? I didn't understand, but I remember I was begging for help. I was begging for help. And I was talking to my grandma, and I know that I was begging for something. It was definitely help. So in this new story of my life, I was telling myself I was independent. So I'm manifesting independence, okay? And I was beginning to become a stronger woman, an independent, strong woman, a stronger mom, a better daughter. I still lacked confidence. But again, I'm a work in progress, okay? But there were definitely souls that were put on my path because we had a soul contract. And I went through many, many, many new lessons in this new chapter of my life, in this new story, in this new era of my life. I had a lot of new souls and soul contracts and a lot of new lessons, to help me become who I am today, who I am now talking to you guys. This was the beginning of my awakening unconsciously. Even though I was consciously aware of a lot of new things in my life and how I was feeling and stuff like that, and spirit and stuff like that, but I didn't know about what awakening was back then. Even though a lot of stuff was beginning to become presented to my awareness. I don't know if that makes sense. Like I was starting to become aware of something, but I didn't know what. So a lot of the work I was putting in on myself was intuitively guided. I was online with my divine. Okay? I wasn't like online on YouTube or anything like that. I was online with my divine. I was not focused on my relationships or any relationship or anything. I wasn't even focused on having a boyfriend, a man, nothing like that. I just was focusing on being strong, being independent, and being a good provider, being a good mom, and just changing my life, changing my story. I knew that I had to change my story. I knew I had to change my life. I knew I had to do something to get me from where I was to where I am today. But I knew back then I knew that I couldn't keep living like that. I had it. I had my breaking point. And I had to learn to go within. I started to journal, even though I have actually kind of been journaling my whole life. Even when I was a kid, I wrote a lot in books. I always wrote my feelings in books and stuff like that. And I was always writing poetry and music and stuff like that. Whatever, anything I experienced, what went on in my day. So I was always kind of journaling. But I looked at it as diary back then. And as I got older, I was like, I'm going to journal. So it was like I was always talking to myself and just writing, stuff out on paper. So I began journaling. And that was a way for me to go within. Nowadays, I don't feel many kids or adults go within. And it's because they spend too much time watching TV, and they're on the internet, and they're on these social apps and stuff like that. And they're listening to other people tell their stories. They're listening to people tell them how to change, and they don't put the work in. Like they're I just hope that if you're listening to this right now, and you're experiencing something that is requiring you to put the work in, I hope that you just don't watch or listening to my video and then say, okay, that healed me. I want you to go a step further, and I want you to put the work in. I want you to do the inner work. Okay, don't let it stop here. A lot of people are just watching other people put their work in and think that will help them, change whatever needs to change in their life. And it might a little bit, but you need to put the work in for a total change. Okay, and if you don't, the cycle is just going to repeat itself, whatever it is that you're being faced with. All right? What you resist persists. Remember that. What you resist persists. So do the inner work. And if you're afraid of something, you got to face it. You just got to face it. No matter how dark it is, you got to face it. Face your fears. Now, I'm not saying watching videos is wrong or listening to other people share their stories is wrong. Some of the info is helpful in a way, but could be disruptive in other ways. You have to literally give yourself time to go within, to evaluate yourself, and teach yourself to be aware of the words you are using and aware of the story that is being told. You need to be aware of what you're manifesting into your life. Okay, words are energy, and you are power. You are divine. So you have to be careful. And now that you're listening to this video, hopefully it brings awareness to you. So I'm sharing because I felt guided to share. I feel like my stories will help many people. I hope it helps at least one. Yes, I shared very personal stuff with you guys. You're my soul family. I love you. You're not alone. There's people out there that won't even talk about stuff like this. They're too ashamed, or they're too scared of what other people will think. And I don't give a shit what people think. I worried about what people thought my whole life, and it didn't get me nowhere. It didn't allow me to be myself. Now I realize that to be yourself, you can't give a shit what people think. Okay? Be yourself, and don't worry what people think about you. Just live your life for what makes you feel happy. Okay? So I share my story to show you, to give you the courage to share yours, so that you can admit to yourself that you're not perfect and you're going through these struggles and these challenges, and that you could turn your life around because you are awesome. So this sharing is me acknowledging that I am not ashamed to tell my story. I'm not ashamed to share with you that I've had many stories. I used to be, this one person, and now I am not that person. This is me sharing what I hid for many years. And me hiding all of that pain just brought a lot of pain to a lot of people in my life, because it would resurface when I would be in certain situations and faced with certain challenges. And the way I reacted to those situations and challenges is because I didn't know how to I guess, resolve the situations as an adult, as a healed person. I was a wounded person with a lot of pain. So this is my way of releasing, and it's a form of forgiveness. I forgive anybody that's ever hurt me, and I forgive myself. It may trigger some people in a bad way to hear me talk about all this, and that's only because, they're unhappy with themselves, and they're struggling to acknowledge that they're hiding. They are struggling to admit that they are not perfect. And they need to put the work in, and they refuse to acknowledge it. I'm also sharing because I want people to know that no matter how raw or rough life may be, it can be better, or whatever you want it to be, because you are the co-creator. You are here to have these human experiences and these lessons. Once you are willing to put the work in, and maybe this video is the video you needed to spark a light for you to start going, within. Maybe I am the woman whispering in your ear. I am here to help guide you, to guide you through your awakening if you need me to be. I'm here for you. You do not need anybody to help you. You don't even need me, but maybe I can be a puzzle piece to help you or to nudge you. I'm coding you. I am coding you. The frequency of my voice is coding you. The words I'm saying is coding you. I'm here to tell you that you are not alone. Life is about perspectives. We all see things differently because we are all looking through a different lens. We are all one. I am you, you are me. You're looking at life through a different lens than I am, on a different timeline, even though we are simultaneously interacting with each other and it seems like we're on the same timeline. It's really weird. This is mind-bending stuff, you guys. Life on Earth is mind-bending. Maybe listening to my stories is what you needed to change your story. I'm not really helping you. You are just hearing me say all of these words. The only way you'll create a change in your life is by putting in the work. You have to be honest with yourself. Even if you don't like the truth, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to surrender. If I had to give you any advice, you have to surrender. Surrender, okay? Surrender. And forgive yourself and forgive others. You have to learn to love yourself and all your flaws unconditionally before you can love others and the world around you. Once you truly love yourself, the world around you will change because you will be aware of the world around you. And you will be able to spot the negative stuff and stop it and transmute it and change the narrative. Once you're in the vibration of love, you're going to attract love. If you keep telling a negative story, you're putting out negative energy and you're going to attract negative, low vibrational stuff into your life. If you are in the vibration of love, you're going to attract love and everything around you will be in the love vibration. That's why you have to be careful of the story you're telling because you're manifesting. I was not always this person that you see or hear or, whatever your perception that you have of me is. I needed to rewrite my story many times, and I'm still a work in progress, but I leveled up a lot. 2015 was a humongous transformation for me. After getting drunk one night, I yelled at the full moon. I yelled at the universe. I yelled at God. And I asked a lot of questions. Actually, I yelled a lot of questions. Then I fully surrendered in my dad's driveway. Again, I had another surrendering moment. This was another huge transformation for me. I surrendered. And after this surrender, I was blessed and I leveled up. I was able to level up. I gave up in my dad's driveway. Then a week later, something happened. I got my DBA and I started my own boat detailing business. And I worked part-time at a restoration company. I was actually bringing in some pretty good money. I was working 2 jobs. I was sick and tired of being broke. I was sick and tired of telling the story of I'm broke. I got to live with my dad. I mean, I really was living with my dad in 2005 because I was living in Florida during all 3 hurricanes. And the hurricane destroyed my apartment, my job, and everything. So I was living in my car. So I had to move from Florida to New York to live with my dad because I really didn't have anywhere to go. And FEMA, I don't know if it was FEMA or the Red Cross, whoever it was back then, had put everybody in all these hotels. But even the hotels were getting destroyed by the hurricanes. So I had no choice. I had to come up here. But I was, once again, I went from being independent and having money to living with my dad and being broke, and I was like, fuck that. I'm not going back to that old story of that I was telling myself. I need to continue to tell the story of that I am independent, I am strong, I am rich, I am financially stable. stuff like that. So I had 2 jobs to get me back on my feet so I can get out. I was still independent. I was happy. I was strong. And then in 2006, guess what? I met my husband. I wasn't even looking to date. I didn't, when guys tried to hit on me, it made me sick to my stomach. I was like, ugh, pew, ugh. Like, no thanks. Like, I want nothing to do with you or any man. Like, ill. And then, I don't know, my husband. I didn't even want to talk to him at the time, but it was fate. And I'm still married to this amazing man today, 16 years later. Even with my monkey pouch. Well, I don't have monkey pouch no more. I fixed that. That was part of my story, in my new story. I had to work on my body and make myself healthy. But he loved me with all my stretch marks and all the other flaws that I had. So 16 years and we're still together. I stopped telling myself I was poor, ugly, broken, codependent, useless, defeated, sick, hopeless, dumb, worthless. I stopped manifesting that low energy, that negative energy. I changed my story. I put the work in. And it was not easy. Not at all. There was not one day of it that was easy. It all sucked. I felt broke. And I created my own business with $100. I did not like telling the story that I was telling myself before. I did not like being poor. So I decided to work 2 jobs, like I mentioned. I learned to love myself in even every imperfection. I learned to love myself, and then I attracted my husband. And I didn't even say I wanted a husband. I just, once I started to love myself, accept myself, my husband came into my life. I was sick of attracting narcissists. The universe was like, okay, Gabrielle loves herself. She's ready for her blessing. She is ready to meet her love match so she can continue to write her beautiful story. And as a bonus, my husband helped me heal more. Whether he knows it or not, he helped me heal more. I started to consciously crack my code in 2006. I am here to encourage you, whoever is listening, I'm here to encourage you and tell you that you are not the pain you are living in. You are not the poverty. You are not the race. You are not the illness. You are divine. You are love. If no one tells you they love you, I am here to tell you that I love you and I am proud of you. I am proud that you took the time to hear my story and you got this far. I am here to tell you that it's okay to forgive yourself. You are not your past. So when people try to throw your past in your face, tell them to go fuck themselves and walk away. You need to cut them people out of your life. You are not your past. People change. People change. I am hugging you and I am wiping your tears right now. I am that funny feeling in your tummy that you are feeling because this resonates with you. I am here to tell you it's not too late to rewrite your story. It's not too late to recreate a new character, a new version of you. A word of advice, again, you have to surrender to whatever you are dealing with and make a few changes with a few heavy choices. You have to release what no longer serves you. You have to cut out people that lower your vibration, no matter if those people are your parents, your kids, siblings, friends, your boss, no matter who they are. If they're lowering your vibration and they don't support you and they don't lift you up, you need to cut them out. You don't have to do it forever. You just have to do it until you heal, and you need to create boundaries. Learn to say no. You're not a bad person if you don't tell somebody no because you don't want to do something. You have to work on yourself, your confidence, your love, your peace of mind. If you're feeling financially unstable, now is the time to find a new career or rewrite your resume or spice it up a little. Take some online classes. Lie on it if you have to. Fake it until you make it. I did that. My very first resume I wrote, I faked it until I made it. No shame. If you have a disease, now is the time to listen to your body and maybe adjust your diet. If you're unhappy in a relationship, now is the time to cut the cord and do some inner work and healing. Learn to meditate, go out and sit in nature, walk in nature. I know all this sounds, like so easy. It's literally that simple. The hard part is changing. Is changing. The hard part is letting go of your ego. The hard part is parting with all the things you attached yourself to and the people you attached yourself to. That's the hard part. All the other stuff is easy once you can get over the hard part. Your new story is going to take time, so be patient. I'm 43 years old and I'm still rewriting my story. I've come a long way. I am proud of myself. I don't need anybody to tell me they are proud of me. I'm proud of myself. You can perfect your story as you go. Learn not to punish yourself when you make a mistake. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge your mistake. Acknowledge the lesson and honor it. And move forward and level up. Stop sabotaging yourself. There will be times that you slip up and you go back to the old story. But awareness is key. When you are aware that you are sabotaging yourself, acknowledge that and level up. When you catch yourself sabotaging yourself, that is powerful. It can stop you from telling that story. Once you are aware of how powerful your words are, you will see how others are sabotaging themselves. And as a bonus, you'll become aware of their projections and it won't make you angry anymore. Because at this point, you will know that they're just unhappy and that they just need to put the work in. They have a lot of shadow work to do. And it won't bother you because you're on a different level. Doesn't mean you're better, you're just on a different level. It just means that you're more aware. Your awareness has expanded and you will know that they are where they are is because you were there once. Just send them love from your heart. Send them love. I love you, Soul Fam. I really hope that this really long audio helped you in some way. And if you're ever looking for a healing session, I am available for bookings if anybody wants to reach out to me. If you're just looking to reach out because you feel troubled and you need somebody to talk to, I'm here for you too. You guys can find me on Instagram, witchyvibes11. I'm on TikTok, witchyvibes11. YouTube, of course. You guys are listening to me. I love you guys. You're not alone. There's a lot of people that are in this soul family. A lot of them comment on a lot of my videos. Introduce yourself and let's welcome you into the family. I'm sending you lots of love. Lots and lots of love. Mwah.